All right, everybody, welcome back to another After Dark. We're going to talk about Yao Ming today. I've been putting this off, not really putting it off on purpose, but I keep saying I've got to check out some Yao Ming stuff and pay him his respects, and I kept getting distracted by other things on his channel. So now's the time. We're doing it. There's no turning back. Yao Ming was a phenomenal player. Honestly, you can almost call him like a freak out there, like a freak of nature. But if it wasn't for knee injuries, leg injuries, like this guy would have gone down as one of the most dominant big men in NBA history, in my opinion. I got to see him healthy and in his prime, and the guy was an absolute monster. The tandem between him and Tracy McGrady, phenomenal. Excuse me. Just a little heads up. I'm still feeling a little sick tonight, so if my voice is a little scratchy, please forgive me. But yeah, this is a video from The Score, and it's called The Story Behind Yao Ming. So I'm going to link the original video down below if you want to check it out without my commentary, and check out the YouTube channel The Score. And everybody else, please leave a like on this video. It helps a ton. And without further ado, everybody, let's do this.
Yao Ming, baseline, got him. Yao Ming, turning inside out. Hendricks gets it down to Yao, and he throws it up.
Oh, damn.
Oh, what an unbelievable shot. Yao Ming working on Wallace again. Takes it inside.
Bang.
Oh, baby. That's what you call attitude.
Poor Ben Wallace is doing his best out there. Like, what are you going to do?
The Great Wall. The Dynasty. Larger than life in every sense. An indelible figure and bona fide icon whose jaw-dropping size, immense talent, and incredible popularity pushed the NBA to new frontiers, paved the way for a generation of international superstars, and ultimately solidified basketball as a truly global sport.
Cool music.
This is the story behind Yao Ming. Yao Ming was born September 12, 1980 in Shanghai, China.
Oh wow, look
having
at that.
practically been bred for basketball glory. His 6'7" father played professional.
Yeah. Check this out, okay? This is, I was blown away when I found this out. But yeah, this is true.
Having practically been bred for basketball glory. His 6'7" father played professionally in China for 9 years, while his 6'3" mother played for the Chinese national team.
Okay, 6'7" and 6'3", and from what I understand, the government paired them up to have a baby, to pump out a Yao Ming. So they took two, like one of the best male basketball and female basketball players, and tall as all hell. Like super tall, and said, pump out the best basketball, the best Chinese basketball baby you can pump out. Do it.
Their only son looked like a true prodigy from day one. Yao was born weighing 11 pounds, 3 ounces, about double that of the average Chinese newborn, hinting at the enormous size advantage he'd eventually wield on the basketball court. By the age of 5, Yao was already 4'8". By 10 years old, Yao stood 5'5".
Nice.
That same year, as is customary in China, the rapidly growing Yao was examined to predict how tall he'd end up being. The answer? 7'3".
Wow.
The test, as it turned out, ultimately undersold Yao, and though he had only first started playing basketball the year prior, just for fun, he now seemed destined to follow in his parents' oversized footsteps. As it happens, Yao's parents didn't want their son to become a basketball player.
Whoa, okay, so maybe I misunderstood some stuff. I thought he was destined for it. I mean, when I say destined, I mean like almost like forced to it.
A profession that isn't nearly as glamorous or lucrative in China as it is in the United States, and one they only ended up in themselves at the behest of the Maoist government. Still, they nurtured his gifts anyway, sending him to a more sport-centric school as a youngster, with the belief that his success on the court would make it easier for him to get a college education. At 13, however, Yao was invited to his first professional tryout for the soon-to-be-called Shanghai Sharks junior squad, and basketball quickly became his sole focus. In fact, in the initial stages of his pro career, Yao and his fellow aspirants trained 10 hours a day, leaving little time for much else. As hard as he grinded, trained 10 hours a day.
10 hours a day? Damn.
Leaving little time for much else. As hard as he grinded, though, in those nascent years with the Sharks junior squad, the teenager, who, as you might expect, played center, remained a work in progress. He was disinclined to use his size to his advantage, preferring to throw up jump shots from the perimeter than get down and dirty down low. To that end, perhaps the most salient bit of instruction during this time came from his mother, who played center herself. She saw Yao's reluctance to do work in the paint and called him on it. As Yao later explained, "When your mom calls you soft, you listen." With that pithy bit of guidance.
Yeah, no kidding. I can't imagine that if my mom was like, "Hey, you're being soft down there. You know, be more dominant in the post." I would have been like, "Damn. All right, mom. You got it." Oh, man.
In mind, Yao continued to grow, both skill-wise and height-wise, and the teenager continued to inch closer to realizing his dream of playing for the Sharks' top team in the incipient Chinese Basketball Association, and eventually for the Chinese national team. At the time, after all, the idea of a Chinese player making it to the NBA was unfathomable.
Look at that. For the Bulls.
The NBA wasn't even on Yao's radar. As immensely popular as basketball was in China, which received broadcasting rights from the NBA beginning in 1987, the country was a non-factor when it came to producing top-level talent. Until it wasn't. In 1999, not long after Yao graduated to the Sharks senior team and burst onto the international stage, the Dallas Mavericks upended the basketball world when they selected Beijing Rocket star Wang Zhizhi in the second round of the NBA draft. The selection sent shockwaves through the world of Chinese basketball, and neither the CBA nor the Rockets were inclined to let Zhizhi go without a fight. Eventually, however, they relented. Late in the 2000-2001 campaign, nearly 2 years after being drafted, Zhizhi became the first Chinese player in NBA history, a development that had major implications for the CBA's emergent superstar, Yao Ming. The same season that Zhizhi made his NBA debut, a 20-year-old Yao took home the CBA's MVP award, averaging 27 points and 19 rebounds per game while carrying the Sharks to a finals appearance. Now standing a gargantuan 7'6", with a remarkable amount of agility, grace, and shooting ability, Yao had transformed into the most tantalizing young talent the country had ever produced. A legitimate NBA prospect who was turning heads on the international stage, had already landed a sponsorship deal from Nike, and had arguably become
Damn, he already had a Nike sponsorship.
China's biggest celebrity. And after another dominant season
Hidden Dragon, 7'6". Dude, that is a cool newspaper, or a cool magazine cover right there.
The Sharks in 2001-2002, Yao was clearly ready for a bigger challenge. The ultimate challenge. The NBA. Not everyone was thrilled to see him go, though. After Yao declared for the 2002 NBA draft, the CBA and the Chinese government, wary of surrendering their prized basketball star, enacted new regulations that required athletes playing overseas to fork over at least half of their earnings to various government agencies.
Wow. 30% of their earnings to the China Basketball Association, and then 20% to government agencies? Damn. Okay, I don't agree with that at all. That sucks. Like, that's not okay. Like, once you have a citizenship outside of there, like if he's a U.S. citizen, then it should be like, come on, man. Come on.
For the entirety of their careers. The new rules also required Yao to get his forthcoming NBA contract approved by just about everyone with a vested interest in him, including the Sharks, the local sports bureau, his registered Chinese agent, and the CBA. Ultimately, the process of readying the Phenom for the jump to the NBA was so involved, legally and logistically, that he needed a team of advisors, aptly named Team Yao, working on his behalf. Eventually, however, all parties were satisfied, and the path was clear for Yao to make history.
With the first pick in the 2002 NBA draft, the Houston Rockets select Yao Ming from Shanghai, China, and the Shanghai Sharks.
Oh, man, they're booing the hell out of him. Yeah, there's still a stigma when it comes to Asians and basketball. There's a big time stigma. There always has been, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna live long enough to see that stigma ever end. So it hasn't. We haven't made much progress. I'll put it that way. In the 42 years I've been alive, we haven't made much progress in there. But you could say that's also, that's because there hasn't been that much fantastic talent, like a Yao Ming. Outside of that, we had Jeremy Lin and not much else to note. So, it kind of is what it is. But, knowing how his career went and how short-lived it was a damn good thing he went to the NBA, even if he had to fork over half his money to China. Like, it was a damn good thing he did it because he got rich real fast. And I guess back then they weren't getting paid a lot to play for the Shanghai Sharks.
As the first international player to go first overall in the NBA draft without first playing NCAA basketball.
Also, I'm sorry. Can you imagine going from China and you go not just to like somewhere in America, you go to Texas. Like you go to the most America place, like old school America kind of place you can imagine. That's right where you go. I always found that hilarious that was his new home, was freaking Houston, Texas. Couldn't write it any better.
And the most visible athlete ever to come out of China, Yao's journey had incredibly high stakes. He was poised
296 pounds, 7'6". My God. Yeah, he didn't have a lick of fat on him.
To be a symbol for China on the biggest stage in the world, a paragon of their evolution into a modern society, and a bridge between the once irreconcilable cultures of East and West. His success would be China's success. His failure would be China's failure.
Yeah.
And he carried the weight of that pressure across the Pacific. As he soon showed, though, you can carry a lot of weight on a 7'6", 310-pound frame.
As long as your knees are healthy.
Yao's arrival in Houston inspired as much excitement in China as it did skepticism in America. Stateside pundits doubted that his success back home would
Okay, Charles said, if he ever gets 19 points in a game, I'll kiss Kenny's posterior, which is his ass, on TV.
Played at the game's highest level,
and by the way, he ended up kissing a donkey's ass. Was the whole gimmick, but he actually did it. He did it because Yao definitely got more than 19 points in a game.
Outset of Yao's NBA career added fuel to that fire. Yao's debut on October 30th, 2002, which came amid unrelenting media attention and an ailing foot, left much to be desired. With a rapt domestic audience and more than 6 million Chinese viewers glued to their TVs, Yao went 0 for 1 from the field and committed 3 personal fouls in a season-opening loss to the Indiana Pacers.
Whoops.
And it took him a little while to find his rhythm. 2 weeks into his career, he was averaging just 4 points per game, and the Rockets were losing the minutes with Yao on the court. Before long, though, the scuffling rookie, who was also navigating a seismic culture change and significant language barrier, locked in.
They continue to cheer as
Yep. Yeah, it was time to just play basketball.
In the 8th game of his career, Yao
His mom probably talked to him too, who was like, "Stop being soft, Yao. Go dunk on the American heads." Because he started out really timid, and I can understand he's a fish out of water. This whole scenario, the language, the landscape, the people, the culture, and the style of basketball. Not being able to understand your coach, not being able to understand your teammates, I'm sure he was like the biggest fish out of water you could possibly imagine. But then all of a sudden it was like, hey, go play some damn basketball. You know how to play basketball. And something clicked for him.
20 points on a perfect 9 for 9 from the field to best Kobe Bryant and the Los Angeles Lakers. 4 nights later, he posted a game-high 30 points while recording his first career double-double in a victory over the Dallas Mavericks.
Sorry, Nash.
The following evening, he cracked the Rockets' starting lineup for the first time. He wouldn't come off the bench again in his entire career.
Yeah.
The hype, it seemed, was legit. But while Yao was figuring out the NBA with aplomb, the league's first attempts to embrace and showcase its new Chinese star were often inelegant, or even downright offensive. Ahead of Yao's first game in Miami, the Heat gave out 8,000 fortune cookies in a misbegotten promotion. Later on, Lakers
Really? The Heat? The Heat did that?
gave out 8,000 fortune cookies in a misbegotten promotion.
What the hell is that, man? What? If like an Italian player comes into town, we're gonna like give away fucking marinara sauce or tomatoes or pasta? For every American, should we like give away potatoes or some shit? Like that's fucked up, dude. I'm sorry, man. Like I didn't know they did that. That is borderline just fucked up. I'm not even gonna use the R word there. I'm just gonna say that's fucked up, man. Don't do that.
Later on, Lakers star Shaquille O'Neal gave the rookie an offensive shout-out before their much ballyhooed first game against one another.
Yao Ming.
Oh my God, he did the. Oh yeah, I remember this. Oh man, if you haven't seen like kung fu movies and like fighting movies from, okay, just think the best idea is like Bruce Lee movies or early Jet Li movies or Jackie Chan movies, like. Yeah, this is Shaq. Shaq being Shaq.
Shout out before their much ballyhooed first game against one another.
Yao Ming. You dare come to the U.S. and you want to battle Shaq? So I was doing stuff like that. So my father got really upset.
Yeah.
And he said, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's disrespectful, man. I get it. Shaq is a clown, so he was trying to be funny, but good on his dad for being like, hey, dude, like, yeah. So some things you just don't do, man. Don't be like that. Don't be like that. It wouldn't be funny if he was doing it to him, you know, and reaching into like some black culture that, you know, that Yao doesn't really understand very much and was clowning on Shaq about it. Like this would be taken very, very differently, and it would be a lot more serious if that was the case. But Shaq is doing something about Yao's culture that he recognizes, but he doesn't quite understand. So he just tried to make a joke out of it. And I get it. It's Shaq, but still, man, Shaq has done some dumb shit over the years.
That first showdown between Shaq and Yao, by the way, was as
by
good
the
as
way,
that.
this was okay. I said what I said my piece about Shaq, but what he did like a Don King move, but for the NBA. He promoted the hell out of this game. And he did it almost like it was like a Godzilla fight, you know, a monster versus a monster, because Shaq is a beast and Yao is a beast. So he did promote the hell out of it. There were commercials on it, and we all looked forward to this game. And it did not disappoint. Yao did not disappoint.
Advertised.
30 in the morning
Block.
as O'Neal goes right at Ming, goes to the net, slowing down the big man.
Gotcha.
Yao, first touch.
It was all in the beginning of the game.
On its feet.
Yao didn't back down. Watch this.
Many big names and
Block.
big fellas in the building.
He's tearing Shaq up.
And the second block on O'Neal. Shaq's going to have to
Give me the
go
ball.
to his jump hook in
Bang.
transition. Yao on the other end.
Yao blocked Shaq multiple times in the opening
Yep.
minute and ultimately finished with 10 points, 10 rebounds, 6 blocks, and 3 assists in a narrow Houston victory in overtime that was watched by more than 200 million people worldwide.
200 million people worldwide. Damn.
It also kicked off a delightful, good-natured rivalry between Shaq and
Yeah,
Yao,
it did.
who eventually became close friends.
Uh-huh.
Needless to say, Yao enraptured NBA fans from the get-go. But as he found his footing on the court, he transformed from a curiosity into one of the league's most popular and beloved players.
Yeah. After a little while, it wasn't about his race anymore, because that was, you know, the whole spectacle of the thing. We never seen a big, giant Chinese man dominate in basketball. So it was a whole, you know, it was a spectacle. But eventually, Yao earned the respect of everybody, and everyone realized, hey, man, this dude could really play. So forget the fact that he's Chinese. Like, this dude is balling out.
Meanwhile, thanks to his on-court success, undeniable charisma, and wicked sense of humor, he was also one of the NBA's most marketable stars.
Guy's hilarious.
And
We should watch his Hall of Fame speech someday. Let me know if you guys want to do that. We should watch him and then Allen Iverson. because they play into each other.
He became a ubiquitous pitchman. Not long after arriving in Houston, Yao was everywhere it seemed, appearing in commercials for Apple, Gatorade, and of course, Visa.
Can I write a check?
Yo.
Yao.
Yao.
By the time the 2003 All-Star Game rolled around, there was practically no one that basketball fans wanted to see more than Yao, who by that point was averaging 13 points and 8 rebounds per game for a middling Rockets team.
Yeah, I much more enjoyed the tandem between T-Mac and Yao than I did the Shaq and Kobe tandem. I'm not going to lie. But obviously, one ended up more successful than the other, so I was rooting for the losing team there.
Yao received the 4th most votes of any All-Star, behind only Kobe, Tracy McGrady, and Vince Carter, and ended up starting at center for the Western Conference over Shaq.
Yep.
He ultimately turned in a quiet performance, dropping only 2 points in 17 minutes for the victorious Western Conference, but that didn't matter. Yao had arrived. As he hobnobbed with the game's biggest stars at Phillips Arena, it was obvious that the kid from Shanghai...
I love that picture. That's so cool. They met. They played basketball a long time before this. Actually, there's an image out there of them playing in a scrimmage game together.
belonged in the NBA. And back home, they couldn't get enough of Yao, or the NBA in general. According to the Washington Post, overall NBA ratings had more than doubled in China within 2 months of Yao's debut, and no fewer than 12 networks carried NBA basketball for the 2002-2003 campaign. The season prior, China had one station broadcasting NBA basketball. Yao was single-handedly pushing the NBA into
The
a
Tao
new
of Yao. Hold up.
broadcasting NBA basketball. Yao
The Tao of Yao. I love that. I would love a copy of that.
was single-handedly pushing the NBA into a new stratosphere of popularity and commercial potential, and China's already considerable appetite for all things
Yao Ming fan
NBA,
club.
game coverage, apparel, merchandise, you name it, soon became insatiable. And despite the perpetually intensifying spotlight, Yao just kept on performing. As a rookie, Yao played all 82 regular season contests for the Rockets,
Yeah, buddy.
averaging 13.5 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 1.8 blocks per game, while helping Houston to a winning record 1 year removed from a 28-54 finish. For his efforts, Yao finished second in Rookie of the Year voting, behind Amare Stoudemire, and was a unanimous selection for the All-Rookie First Team.
Wow.
And he just kept getting better from there.
By the way, LeBron had no help, huh?
Given more responsibility and more minutes as a sophomore under new head coach Jeff Van Gundy, Yao turned in another superb campaign, upping his points, rebounds, blocks, and field goal percentage while starting all 82 regular season games for Houston. Meanwhile, with Yao holding it down in the paint, the Rockets fielded one of the NBA's stingiest defenses and ultimately snapped a 4-year playoff drought, finishing 7th in the Western Conference at 45-37. The problem, though, was that the
Whoa,
Lakers
look at the Timberwolves.
finished second in the conference, which meant that Yao and the Rockets had to go through Shaq and Kobe. Predictably, they could not. Although Yao acquitted himself well in his first taste of postseason action, it wasn't much of a series, with the Lakers storming out to a 2-0 lead and eventually claiming the best of 7 in just 5 games. Still, that summer wasn't totally...
Oh, it was that year with the Malone and Gary Payton. Yeah, they were not the real Lakers anymore.
Bereft of glory for Yao, who carried the Chinese flag during the opening ceremonies at the Olympic Games in Athens, a long dream come true as he described it, then propelled the Chinese team into the quarterfinals with a dominant tournament. And he continued to dominate upon returning to Houston.
Yeah, this is when it got fun. I wish these two teamed up like 2 years prior, and they had healthy seasons together.
Where the offseason addition of future Hall of Famer Tracy McGrady seemed poised to take the Rockets to the next level. Except, while Yao delivered a 3rd straight All-Star season, starting all but 2 regular season games and carrying Houston to another postseason berth, the Rockets ultimately had their hopes dashed in the first round for a 2nd year in a row, this time by Dirk Nowitzki and the Dallas Mavericks. And while he couldn't have possibly known it as he slumped off the floor at American Airlines Center following his club's Game 7 loss, the best chapter of Yao's career was over.
No, they only got one attempt at it, one true fair attempt at it, and that broke my heart. I was okay. I was a huge fan of Yao for obvious reasons, and I liked T-Mac way more than I liked Kobe back then. So for me, this was a no-brainer. If the Suns are knocked out of the playoffs, I'm rooting for Houston at this time. Like I really wanted to see that tandem win.
Although the Rockets headed into the 2005-2006 campaign brimming with optimism, primed to get over the hump, their season went off the rails quickly. With McGrady sidelined, Houston went 3-11 over their first 14 games. And just as they were starting to work their way out of that hole, Yao got hurt, developing a bone infection in his left big toe that required him to undergo surgery. He ended up missing 21 games, and the team imploded in his absence.
Yep, big guys and their knee problems and their foot problems. Never fails.
Going 6-15 with Yao out of the lineup. Still, despite spending more than 5 weeks on the inactive list, Yao earned himself a 4th straight All-Star selection that year.
Yeah, popularity.
And while he couldn't salvage the Rockets' lost season upon rejoining the team, he played some exceptional basketball down the stretch, and ultimately finished the campaign averaging more than 22 points and 10 rebounds per game. But the injuries persisted. Over the next 2 seasons, Yao missed almost 40% of Houston's regular season games due to various injuries, including a fractured knee bone and a stress fracture in his troublesome left foot. When he was on the court, though, he was sublime, setting a career high with 25 points per game in 06-07 and averaging a double-double per game in 07-08.
That's the sad thing. They both played great whenever they were healthy enough to play. But they were never on the court together, like not for long enough to get their mojo straight.
During which the Rockets authored an unlikely and unforgettable 22-game win streak. But due to his health woes, Yao only appeared in a dozen of those 22 wins, and the ailing star also found himself sidelined for the Rockets' brief playoff run in 2008. Still, while Yao's health had undercut his and Houston's aspirations, he continued to have a profound impact on the game, in a global sense. For one, Yao's sustained excellence helped establish China as a viable incubator for NBA talent. 5 years after the Rockets took Yao first overall, 2 Chinese players, Yi Jianlian and Sun Yu, were selected in the first 2 rounds of the NBA draft. And when Yi's Milwaukee Bucks and Yao's Rockets squared off for the first time in 2007, a whopping 200 million Chinese viewers tuned in for the game, illustrating just how basketball obsessed the country had become. Meanwhile, in 2008, the NBA established NBA China, an operational outpost headquartered in Beijing that signified how important of a market China had evolved into.
Yeah, and that's when we started catering to them, unfortunately, because as you've seen in this video so far, a ton of money is coming in from China now, from their viewership. And yeah, that's when a lot changed in the NBA. I'm just going to leave it there. It's gotten really bad, though. It's gotten really bad.
Yet, while NBA basketball was becoming an increasingly inextricable part of Chinese culture, Yao's career was winding down. After a 3rd straight injury-riddled season, Yao finally returned to health in 2008-2009, starting 77 games for the Rockets and propelling them to a 3rd straight playoff berth with his 7th consecutive All-Star campaign. And for the first time in his career, Yao got to relish a postseason series victory, as the McGrady-less Rockets downed the Portland Trail Blazers in 6 games in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, Luis Scola. I remember you. And Ron Artest. Yeah, they had a cool team there.
But that elusive joy was quickly followed by devastation. Late in Game 3 of the Western Conference semis against the Lakers, Yao sustained an injury to his left foot that was initially described as a sprained ankle. A follow-up exam, however, revealed that Yao had suffered a hairline fracture, an injury that would sideline him for the remainder of the playoffs, which, for the suddenly depleted Rockets, was only 4 more games. But while Yao was supposed to be ready to go for the following season, the injury refused to heal. When he went in for a follow-up about 6 weeks after Game 3, the fracture had expanded, and the Rockets team doctor expressed concern that the injury could end Yao's career. And it effectively did.
Yeah.
After much deliberation, Yao opted to have surgery to repair the fracture and ended up sitting out the entire 2009-2010 campaign. In the wake of his lost season, the Rockets strategized extensively over how to keep Yao healthy in 2010-2011, but it was ultimately futile. After making his triumphant return to the floor for the Rockets' season opener against the Lakers, Yao played only 4 more games before his left foot started acting up again. Eventually, an MRI revealed that Yao had suffered a stress fracture in his left ankle, an injury related to the previous year's foot ailment.
Yeah.
So,
It's at that point, it's like he doesn't have enough time to just keep the rest of his body healthy. You know, you get a fracture in your foot, then you have to rest it so it recovers. And then by the time your foot's healthy enough, well, the rest of your leg isn't healthy enough. It's not strong enough anymore. So here goes another injury. Sucks, man. Sucks how Yao had to go out.
So once again, Yao went under the knife, costing him the remainder of the season.
Rick Kamla here in Atlanta with breaking news. According to league sources, Houston Rockets center Yao Ming has decided to retire after 9 seasons in the NBA.
That summer, on account of his unrelenting foot injuries, and with his contract with Houston having recently expired, Yao, at the age of 30, announced his retirement from the NBA, closing the book on one of the most influential playing careers in basketball history. A career that produced 8 All-Star appearances, 2 All-NBA second-team selections, 3 All-NBA third-team selections, and eventually got his number 11 retired by the Rockets. And in the decade plus since his retirement, Yao has remained an integral and highly visible part of the international basketball landscape. In 2012, Yao announced a partnership with NBA China, committing himself to growing basketball even further in his home country. Later on, Yao, who had already bought his former team, the Shanghai Sharks, to save them from financial ruin,
No way. I didn't know he owned the Sharks.
became chairman of the CBA.
Excuse me,
Ultimately,
sorry.
his impact on the game was and remains immeasurable, and his pivotal role in basketball history was cemented in 2016 when he was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Today, the NBA's reach is unmatched. It's a global league filled with international stars, and for that, basketball will be forever indebted to Yao Ming.
I mean, not just Yao Ming. There's a lot of players that paved the way for the international play, but Yao Ming was definitely one of them. As far as opening up the NBA to Asia, yeah, we'll give Yao some credit. Many other players from around the world, though, the other parts of the world, yeah, they came before Yao. So I know why he did that to just summarize the video, but you know, I don't agree with that one. Yeah, it's always sad to me how he had to go out, but also it was kind of honorable to me that he tried. You know, he came back from injury, then he got injured after a really good season. He played 78 games, and then, you know, got injured again. Tried one more comeback and played just a handful of games and got injured. And he was like, you know what, guys, contract's about to expire, and I think it's over. You know, he could have stuck around and signed more contracts and taken a lot more of these teams' money, because people would have still signed him. You know, he would have got millions and millions of more dollars, and he probably would have just sat on the sidelines in a suit and got surgery after surgery and been that dude, you know, like a Gilbert Arenas kind of guy, you know. But he chose not to do it, so I always saw that as honorable. And then he continued his work. So I think Yao, the story of Yao is actually a very big success. What it did for his country, what it did for basketball in his country. The fact he would have made very little money had he not gone to the NBA. So he made, you know, generational wealth by doing so, and also showed the United States and the rest of the world that, hey, some Chinese people can play, you know, like it's possible. So don't count them out. So yeah, I thought his legacy is really cool, and it sounds like his legacy is still continuing. So props to Yao on that. And thank you for the comments for reminding me to do a video on Yao, because I kept forgetting. And that persistence in the comments is what pushed me to the edge today, where I'm like, I'm doing a reaction to a Yao video today. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, even if there's crazy news that's happening right now, I don't care. Time to respect Yao. All right, everybody, I'm getting out of here for tonight. My voice is it's not hanging in there very well. So I will see you all tomorrow morning for the for tomorrow's vid. And yeah, please leave this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you want more. Hit that bell notification if you want to be notified whenever I post. I post twice a day. And yeah, I've got no more voice left. Be good to your people. Love you all. Peace out, all right?